Generating electricity with coal, oil, and uranium not only depletes the world's energy reserves, it creates more than 60% of our nation's emissions of sulfur dioxide, the leading cause of acid rain. Nearly 40% of our emissions of carbon dioxide, the leading greenhouse gas, and about a quarter of our emissions of nitric oxide, a key component of smog. On the other hand, generating electricity with sun, wind, and water saves energy and creates virtually no pollution. However, manufacturing natural energy systems consumes energy and degrades the environment somewhere. So consideration of each system should compare the embodied energy consumed in its making and installation with the non-renewable energy it will conceivably preserve during its useful life. These systems have a few other drawbacks. They require a lot of time, considerable money, and usually a change in lifestyle by their users. These systems are not for everyone, mostly due to adverse site conditions. And my purpose here is not to woo you to their use, but to wizen you to their nature, so you can at least be conversant with professionals and friends about what they are like. Using natural energy in a building does not begin with harnessing the heat of the sun, the force of the wind, the weight of falling water. It begins with constructing thickly insulated building envelopes, creating maximum comfort and minimum volume indoors, using furnitecture for your furniture, and installing energy efficient appliances. Only after you have minimized all the energy you will need are you ready to go to all the labor and expense of satisfying your needs with natural energy. Here are a few other considerations. What is the occupancy's critical electric load? This is the electrical uses that must be satisfied to make the occupancy habitable, such as running water, a few lights, and maybe a refrigerator. If firewood is available on the property, consider installing an efficient fireplace or a wood stove with a flat cooktop. Second, what are the natural energy's patterns of availability? On a site near Seattle, the sun may shine an average 63% of the day in July, but only 28% in January, when clouds and fog often obscure the sun when you need it the most. And a creek in California may flow swiftly in March, but be dry in September. A third consideration is, will the system be off-grid or on-grid? In off-grid systems, the building has no access to local electric power. Then the system requires batteries to store its generated electricity for when more is needed than the system can supply. In on-grid systems, the local utility provides the electricity when more is needed than the system can supply, and when the system generates more electricity than you need, you can sell the excess back to the utility. Some won't pay you nearly as much as what you pay them, but others will pay you even more. So check. Batteries for off-grid systems typically add 20 to 40% to their cost, and they require more maintenance. But off-grid properties often have notably lower land values, which alone can make these systems economical. The most reliable system is on-grid with battery backup, but its dependability comes at a price. Now, in the next 16 pages of my book, Architecture Laid Bare, I describe in great detail how to harness solar, wind, and water energy on a building's property. Then I conclude by saying the following. regarding the above honest disclosures of generating electricity with natural energy, each of these systems' number of debits may give you a gloomy picture of their feasibility. But an inequity lurks here. Consider coal. Mining this fossil fuel also has a number of debits, a long and sordid history of ruining workers' lives, of crippling communities, of creating mountains of waste, of poisoning rivers and streams and devastating landscapes, while at the same time coal companies habitually enjoy favorable legislation, receive tax subsidies, and are granted government giveaways while they consistently ignore regulatory guidelines. If all these debits were added to these companies' balance sheets so their bottom line truly reflected what it takes to procure, process, package, and transport every lump of coal in one form or another from deep in the earth to your doorstep, our nation's citizens would form lines longer than the gas lines of the 1970s to grab every natural energy plum while supplies were available. It would be a feeding frenzy. How will these inequities end? Will the public continue to be tempted by artificially low prices that do not fully reveal the environmental cost of an energy until a few more coal mine disasters have occurred? Until a few dozen more Deepwater Horizon wells have exploded? Until a few hundred more love canals have poisoned our lives? Until the businesses to blame are finally forced to make honest accountings of their labors that the public can base rational decisions on? The answer tells us how difficult our dilemma today really is.